Welcome back, story lovers, to A One Storyteller, the channel where every tale is a journey, every character comes to life, and every twist will leave you breathless. Whether you're here for the drama, the suspense, or the life lessons, we've got you covered. Today's story is one that will shake you to your core. It's a tale of injustice, courage, and the kind of karma that will make you believe in the power of destiny. So grab your popcorn, settle in, and let's dive into this unforgettable story. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a story. Let's begin. Willow Creek was a quiet, unassuming town nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and life moved at a slow, predictable pace. But beneath its peaceful surface, Willow Creek had a dark underbelly, one that few dared to acknowledge. Officer Brad Grayson was one of the most feared men in town. A veteran cop with a reputation for being harsh and unyielding, Brad had a particular disdain for anyone who didn't fit his narrow definition of acceptable. His racism was an open secret, whispered about but never confronted. The townsfolk were too afraid of his power and influence to speak out. On the other side of town lived Naomi Carter, a strong-willed and compassionate woman who had recently been appointed as the town's first black police chief. Naomi was a beacon of hope for many, a symbol of progress in a town that had long been resistant to change. But her appointment had ruffled more than a few feathers, especially Brad's. It was a crisp autumn evening when the tension between Naomi and Brad finally boiled over. Naomi had been working late reviewing case files in her office when Brad stormed in, his face red with anger. "You think you can just waltz in here and take over?" he spat, slamming his fist on her desk. "This town doesn't need someone like you calling the shots." Naomi remained calm, her eyes steady. "Brad, this isn't about me. It's about doing what's right for Willow Creek. If you have a problem with that, maybe it's time you reconsidered your place here." Brad's jaw tightened. "You'll regret this," he growled before storming out. Later that night, Naomi was walking home when she heard footsteps behind her. Before she could react, a bag was thrown over her head and she was dragged into the shadows. When the bag was removed, she found herself tied to the train tracks on the outskirts of town. Brad stood over her, a cruel smile on his face. "You thought you could change things," he sneered. "This town doesn't belong to people like you. Let's see how brave you are when the 8:15 train comes through." Naomi struggled against the ropes, but they were too tight. She could hear the distant rumble of the train approaching. Her heart pounded as she realized the gravity of her situation. As the train drew closer, Naomi's mind raced. She thought of her family, her friends, and the community she had sworn to protect. She refused to let Brad's hatred be the last thing she remembered. Summoning all her strength, she began to scream for help. Meanwhile, in town, a group of teenagers had been hanging out near the tracks. They heard Naomi's cries and rushed to investigate. What they found left them horrified. "We have to do something," one of them shouted, pulling out a pocket knife to cut the ropes. But the train was now just minutes away. As the teens worked frantically to free Naomi, Brad stood by, confident in his plan. But fate had other ideas. In his haste to escape, Brad tripped over a loose rail and fell onto the tracks. By the time he realized what had happened, it was too late. The train was upon him. The teens managed to free Naomi just as the train roared past, its horn blaring. They watched in stunned silence as Brad's lifeless body was carried away by the force of the train. In the days that followed, the town of Willow Creek was forced to confront the darkness that had festered within it. Naomi's bravery and resilience became a rallying cry for change. The community came together to support her, and the police department underwent a complete overhaul. Naomi's story spread far and wide, inspiring others to stand up against injustice. She became a symbol of hope, not just for Willow Creek, but for anyone who had ever faced discrimination or hatred. The town held a memorial service for Brad, but it was a somber affair. Many struggled to reconcile the man they had known with the monster he had become. For Naomi, it was a time of reflection. She knew that her fight was far from over, but she was determined to see it through. One evening, as she stood by the train tracks where her life had almost ended, Naomi felt a sense of peace. She knew that Brad's actions had been a desperate attempt to hold onto a world that was slipping away. But the future belonged to those who were willing to fight for it. Under Naomi's leadership, Willow Creek began to transform. The police department implemented new training programs focused on diversity and inclusion. Community outreach initiatives brought people together, fostering a sense of unity that had long been absent. Naomi also made it a point to mentor young people, encouraging them to stand up for what was right. She often shared her story not as a tale of victimhood, but as a testament to the power of resilience and hope. Naomi's story didn't just impact Willow Creek. It resonated far beyond the town's borders, inspiring other communities to take a stand against racism and injustice. She was invited to speak at conferences and events, where her message of courage and change touched countless lives. One day, she received a letter from a young girl in another state. The girl wrote about how Naomi's story had given her the strength to stand up to bullies at school. It was moments like these that reminded Naomi why she had chosen this path. Years passed, and Willow Creek became a model for other towns striving for progress. Naomi's leadership had left an indelible mark, and her legacy continued to inspire new generations. As she looked out over the town she had fought so hard to protect, Naomi felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She knew that the road ahead would still have its challenges, but she was ready to face them. After all, she had already proven that even in the face of darkness, light could prevail. And that, my friends, is the power of karma, a story of darkness turned to light, of hatred overcome by courage. If this tale moved you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, every like, comment, and subscription helps us bring more stories like this to life. Until next time, this is One Storyteller signing off. Stay curious, stay kind, and always believe in the power of a good story. See you soon.